Hello students, welcome to PG Pathshala. I am Professor A.S. Chandel, former head of the department, Northeastern Hill University, Shillong. Today I am going to talk about user studies from the paper Library Use and User Studies. Objective of this module being presented are to introduce you as the students of LIS to the basic user study with emphasis on providing conceptual understanding of the user study and their importance to information professionals. Familiarize you with the technological meaning being used in these studies. Explain to you the scope and the coverage of these studies with brief historical account. Explain the different methodological application to conduct these studies. And I'll conclude this module giving you the summary and the conclusion. User as a focal point. All activities in libraries revolve around users. Even information processing which are done behind the scene cannot isolate users. Their approaches to information handling, convenience in use, their information seeking behavior have to be kept in mind and sight. Librarianship deals with collection, organization, dissemination, and use of resources. All these activities are done in view of the maximum use of resources. Therefore, libraries must know their users and establish harmonious relationship between the user group and their resources. Understanding terminologies. So there are different terminologies being used in user studies, and we should be familiar with the connotation and meaning of these terms. The common terms being used in these modules are: first, I'm going to take up the first term, which is frequently used in user study, that is information seeking behavior. Information seeking behavior is a process how users receive and search, navigate, interact with the information resources or information system. Different individuals adopt different search strategies to find information based upon their background. We may say that it is information seeking gathering habits of users. If you go to the user group, we'll find that users come from different backgrounds and they have a different educational qualification, they have a different economics background, social background, and cultural backgrounds. And these factors are responsible for their information seeking behavior. So educational background is very essential and responsible for conditioning information seeking behavior. So that's why we find that different groups of people, they have a different habits of gathering information, searching information, and navigating from one side to another. So therefore, it's important for us to understand the basic concept of information seeking behavior. And some of these authors have also emphasized that information seeking behavior is a better term than information needs, and information needs cannot be explained properly, cannot be defined properly, whereas information seeking behavior can be explained better. In this module, I am going to introduce you to the basic concept of information use and user study. Why user studies are important for information professional. In the present digital era, these studies have become increasingly important, and more literature are being published. In recent past, these studies have accumulated large number of literature, but more literature was generated on these studies during 1980s. It is estimated that after information retrieval, information user studies got maximum attention in information usage studies, that got maximum attention of the professionals and writers on these areas. Hence, a lot of writings have appeared on various facets of user studies. There are many types and categories of users with their varied needs, expressed and unexpressed. Some of the users themselves do not know their information needs. In such cases, their needs are to be explored and identified. There are many users who are passive in their behavior to use information. Some are even non-users in spite of the availability of resources to them. Let us now discuss some of the basics, issues of these studies and their relevance in LIS curriculum. Why user studies are there in LIS curriculum, and why library professionals are supposed to go into depth analysis of user studies. Libraries are established for users. All of us know libraries have the primary objective of serving their user with the required information to their utmost satisfaction. Their satisfaction depends upon the resources available to them in libraries and information centers. They have diverse needs to be studied and satisfied. They have different interests, work roles, different social, educational, and cultural background as basis for their information need. Unless your clientele is well known and familiar to you, you may fail to serve them properly. I give you an analogy of a business house which make a survey of the present and the prospective customer before launching any business enterprise. Their target is profit, which depends upon the sellability of the product. Customers are always at site who have different requirements, interest and needs. Customers are different in big and small cities with different requirements. Hence, they have different products for sale, depending upon the nature of population expected to be the main clientele. They also anticipate what products and goods may have demand in near future and stock things accordingly. Similarly, in library profession also, we think of marketing of information which are supposed to have a survey of the customers, so that only such information products are developed which have the sellability. Information system. Another term which is frequently used in information use and information behavior, information needs is information system. This term has been used in the text of this module frequently. We know that we organize information for dissemination and use in the form of information product. A unit of systematically stored information which have different dependent components like hardware, software devices, input and output devices. So these are for building up the information system. It processes and organizes information in the form of system. For example, we have a different system which is being used frequently in library and information science. Say we are user of Agris, we are user of NS, and sometimes we use other information system. The purpose of information system is to retrieve information properly. So there are different qualities of information system which should be taken into account while developing information system. So that is that information system should have most important qualities are that system should have the quality of precision, recall and relevance, so that whenever users approach the system, they should easily find their information according to their own convenience. Therefore, the terminology, languages, etc. are to be used according to the preferences of the users. So when we develop information system, the user have to be always kept in sight so that the system becomes workable and becomes very easy and user friendly. Information retrieval. After using information system, the term which is also used in the basics of user study is information retrieval. So information is organized and processed for retrieval. Information systems so designed should have the quality of effective retrieval, that is recall and precision. While designing information system, designer has to keep in mind the users, how they are going to browse, how they are going to access and use the system, and their languages, their vocabularies are to be kept in view. So if it is going to be the system for scientists, so the preference should be given to use scientific terms. So if the system has been designed for general public, so general vocabulary or the terminology should be used. So information retrieval has to be effective and has to be developed in view of the user group to whom it is going to be developed. So information retrieval system is able to filter information properly and can retrieve, can locate the information as is required by the users. Frequently term used in this module is the user, who is the focal point of all studies. So user, customers, clientele are the user of information. So these all terms have been used or are being used in not only in this module but in whole of the papers. User means patron clientele of the library who seeks information from various sources and services available to them on the event of lack of information, uncertainty, inquisitiveness, ambiguities, knowledge gaps. Users are of different types, belonging to different communities, classes, with their different needs. So we have to identify our users, their categories, and their information requirements. Information need. Information need is difficult to define. It's not like basic need. Therefore, authors have experienced in defining information need. So if we have to define information need, we need to define both these terms, information and need. But both the terms have ambiguities in defining. According to one of the author named Der, defines information need as a condition in which certain information contributes to the achievement of genuine or legitimate information. Information need may arise at cognitive level, which may be anomalous at conceptual level. So this creates a lot of problem in identifying the actual information needs of users, because it's difficult to analyze need at a cognitive level. Information seeking behavior theories often refer to the concept of information needs, a presumed cognitive state wherein an individual's need state triggers the search behavior characteristics of information seeking in a given context. So it is inconclusive to define information need. Therefore, some of these authors who have extensively worked on user study and information need and information seeking behavior have concluded that it is better to use information seeking behavior in place of information need, because neither information is definable properly, at the same time need also cannot be analyzed in a precision way. Information need. Information need is not a basic need as for food, shelter, survival, etc. It is considered troublesome concept, difficult to bring it to the ambit of definition. Both need as well as information are nebulous terms. Information need may be expressed or unexpressed, which may arise with the different social and economic background. Normally what happens that most of the users, they are not able to express their needs which is at their cognitive level. But if we talk about the basic needs are always expressed properly, which is very easy to meet out. So this is a very problematic area when the user themselves are not able to express their needs properly, but the professional have to investigate and explore their user so that they are able to come out with their real requirement. We may conclude now that it is difficult to define need, which is considered as fraught with ambiguity and imprecision, and should be considered as condition or a situation in which something is required or wanted out of necessity. Varied meaning considered that it is a process, it is a knowledge, and it is as a thing. So this has been summarized that information should be considered as a process, and it should also be considered as information and also as an object, according to the context it is being used. Information should always be new to the recipient when it is not definable. So it is better that we should understand what are the concept of information, the characteristics of information, that to the user it should always be new. Information should bring some change in the knowledge structure, that is, it should bring some change in the personal knowledge of the recipient. So this is how the attributes of information have been identified. Now we define what is user study, what it covers. So user study investigates the information needs, the requirements of information users, the way humans search for information and process information for retrieval, the processing of, using, and searching of information by the users. User studies attempts to determine the information seeking behavior of users in order to develop and deliver need-based information services. There are many facets of user study where it includes innumerable number of categories of users, because we have a different user groups who use the information within the library and outside the library. So it becomes essential for the information professional that every user group and every community which falls under the purview of the library services and which are the expected user, prospective user, their information needs, their requirement, their behavior should be identified. The very purpose is that libraries or information center should provide need-based, value-added services to the user, which is only possible if we are able to establish close relationship with the users, know their behavior and know their needs and what they look for their job requirement, for their studies, and for their role to perform. The scope of user study. So the scope of user study is very wide, very varied. It is interdisciplinary in nature because users which are to be studied belong to various categories, belong to various professions. So the scope is very wide. It studies all human beings belonging to various disciplines, communities, social groups, etc., as information user, as to what they need, what they look for, what are their preferences, and what are their liking and disliking, what they would like to refer, what they like to use, and also the study should cover that what are the purpose of the usability, what are the circumstances behind a particular information behavior of the users, why they use information, for what purpose they use information. This is also including in user study. And channel of information, sources of information are very important to be identified. Earlier studies were limited to identify the information sources, channels, what they prefer to use, so that the collection, the resources, the information systems, services should be developed according to their preferences. So what steps and models they take in information searching and processing of information for retrieval. So there are so many models which have been developed uh, of information searching behavior. So these models will be separately discussed in different modules. Thrust area of user study. User study mainly investigates the following areas: reading interest, preferences of various user groups, information seeking behavior, how users search for information, what search strategies they follow, what are their browsing pattern, and sources of getting information. Also, it studies communication barriers in information accessing. Models and theories of information needs and information seeking behaviors also are covered under the thrust area of user study. At the same time, user study also includes the evaluation of services to find out the gaps, which is very important for the improvement of the services. So when we feel that services are not being properly provided, there should be reason for that, and those reasons should be found out and necessary measures should be taken to improve the services which are being provided. Also, it covers the study of non-users, why some of the users are passive, are not using the libraries, and the reason for non-use of the resources also are to be found out. At the same time, if the usability is not satisfactory, we have to think of that how to motivate the users and how to educate them, familiarize them with the existing resources which are available with us. Most of the users are not knowing that what resources of information they have at their desk or in their library available to them. Information need is to be defined before we discuss the detail of information studies, user studies. Defining information need is difficult, as T.D. Wilson states that it is notoriously difficult, so he prefers to use information seeking behavior for information needs. But both terms convey different meanings and cannot be considered same. Though both the terms information and need are difficult to define, but much easier to understand. There are different definitions given. We may understand that information need is not a basic need as for food, water, shelter. Information need arises out of uncertainty, ambiguity, or any problem in hand. Acquiring information can provide the solution to the recipient. The other term used almost as synonymous to need, demand, wants, and requirement. User may put some more preferences, ask for more preferences for textbooks than general reading, or may demand much resources which may help them in teaching and research. Elder people may demand on the system to get some information which may suit their taste. They may demand, they may want to read more religious books than other types of books. For our concern, we should treat these terms near synonymous, if not synonymous, as professionals have to meet demand, wants, and needs of the user. So we should not go into the details of the meaning of these terms which are used in information user studies. For more detail, if you would like to find out the difference between what is the difference between need, demand, requirement, so you can refer to some of the writings for if you would like to have a detailed study of these things. You can refer to article by Brittain which have been given, or Nicholas and Herman, and which you and Roberts, which you can find out from the text of this module. User in anomalous state of knowledge. Most of the users do not know what to find and from where. Users are in problematic situation and do not know what to find and where to find. Anonymous state of knowledge is a situation in which the patron's knowledge are incomplete or limited in some way, and they need further information to get on. The patrons are seen to be in anomalous state of knowledge. Information studies will be able to reduce the information load by filtering information according to the user's need. So unwanted information has to be discarded and only the relevant information should be provided. So filtering of information, reducing the overload of information is very essential, because a lot of information is available and users are not able to find the right information. If it is provided according to their requirement and it is filtered according to their needs, so they will be able to get the information what is required. So I would like to discuss now about that why user studies are so important for us. It is to generate, optimize, and improve existing services. So we have to always see that whether we are providing need-based services or not. We can optimize, we can improve the services. Therefore, the user studies are important. To develop need-based information system, information products, and develop better method for information storage and dissemination. To restore, to resolve uncertainty and inadequacy of knowledge existing in the minds of the user. To develop need-based collection based on user feedback and research findings. Research methodologies. So identification of information need, precise, good research methodologies. The literature generated on user studies is very large, but the findings are not as accurate, having a qualitative nature as expected. There are different research methodologies which are applicable, are being used. Some of them are as under content analysis. This is analysis of the documentary sources which are being used by the users. Then second is that we gather usage statistics from various sources. And most important methodology which is not very commonly used is observation. If library professional keep an eye on the users, so they will be able to identify the real requirement of the users. Now the new methodology has been adopted in many studies, which is log analysis, which is only applicable in internet environment, where we can find out that which information sources have been consulted and which sites have been accessed by the user. So this is most authentic methodology if we find out the usage by going to the log analysis. Ethnography is another methodology which studies the user group in their natural surrounding and observing their behavior. Citation has been a very old methodology to find out that what are the sources which have been cited by the users in their studies. We can also determine through the citation analysis that these are the sources which have been used in the recent past in their studies. Survey methods, it is a very common methodology, also not very authentic methodology, which is mostly based upon questionnaire, interview, social networking, and getting data through email or by any other method. Now I would like to give you a brief account of the user studies conducted so far. There is no evidence of the exact date of informal beginning of these studies, which could be as old as the inception of libraries. Earlier, knowing your user was based upon perception of the library professionals. The concept of user study is implicit in the establishment of libraries, since users' need is always kept in view based upon the studies or informal professional vision. More studies started when Royal Society Scientific Conference was held in 1948, followed by International Conference of Scientific Information on Literature and Reference Needs of Scientists as early as 1958. More studies started being conducted during 1960s and 70s. Some of the important studies are Menzel 1966 and Bernal 1960s. Studies conducted by American Psychological Society on Information Behavior is worth quoting. Important studies is worth quoting is INFROS study conducted in 1971, and this is the only study whose findings were implementing in developing information system for social sciences. Studies conducted by Center for Research on User Studies in the Department of Information Studies at the University of Sheffield in 1975 is worth quoting. During 80s and 90s, the user studies became part of curriculum in library and information science studies, and large number of research papers and PhD theses started coming up since then. The summary of this module is that user study which investigate the information needs and information seeking behavior of users are prerequisite to plan, develop, improve, and evaluate information system and services to match the needs of the users with an objective of providing them maximum satisfaction with the services being offered. User studies is a cornerstone to meet the philosophy of librarianship, implicit in laws of library science, to serve the users with the relevant information what they need and often look for. The philosophy of librarianship can be derived from laws of library science of Ranganathan. Many commandments to comply with these laws come in the forefront to serve the user in entirety with holistic approach, with emphasis to serve the user with their timely right resources, information without any inconvenience. Therefore, our motto should be know your user as closely and intimately, adopting suitable methodology so that they can be served with right information at the right time. Thank you.